Long ago, in the early 1800s, a young businessman from America had a strange and almost unbelievable idea. His name was Frederic Tudor, and he believed that people living in very hot countries would buy ice. At that time, this idea sounded completely crazy. There were no refrigerators, no freezers, and no modern ways to keep ice from melting. Ice only existed in cold places during the winter, usually in frozen lakes and rivers. Most people laughed when they heard Tudor's plan. They said it was impossible. They believed the ice would melt long before it reached any warm country. Shipping ice across the ocean seemed like a foolish dream. But Frederic Tudor was determined. He believed that people in hot places would love ice for cold drinks, desserts, and preserving food. So he decided to take the risk and try anyway. During the winter, Tudor hired workers to cut huge blocks of ice from frozen lakes in the northern United States. The ice blocks were thick, clear, and extremely heavy. Workers used large saws and tools to carefully cut the ice into giant squares. After cutting the ice, the workers transported the heavy blocks to nearby ports. There, the ice was loaded onto large wooden ships that were normally used for trading goods across the ocean. But there was still a big problem. Ice melts very quickly in warm temperatures. If the ice melted during the journey, the entire business would fail. Tudor needed a way to keep the ice frozen for weeks while traveling across the ocean. Then he discovered a clever solution. He packed the ice blocks with sawdust. Sawdust worked like natural insulation. It slowed down the melting process and helped the ice stay frozen much longer. With this method, the ships finally set sail across the ocean, carrying large amounts of ice. The journey was long and dangerous. The ships traveled for weeks through changing weather, strong winds, and warm climates. Everyone wondered if any ice would survive the trip. When the ships finally arrived in tropical countries like India and the Caribbean, something surprising happened. Much of the ice was still there. People in these hot places had never seen ice before. They were amazed when they touched the cold, solid blocks. For many of them, it felt like magic. Soon, rich families, hotels, and restaurants began buying ice for cold drinks and special desserts. Ice quickly became a luxury product in hot climates. Frederic Tudor's crazy idea was no longer a joke. It had become a successful international business. Over time, Tudor expanded his ice trade to many countries around the world. His ships carried ice to places where people had never imagined something so cold could exist. Because of his success, Frederic Tudor became known as the Ice King. His story shows us something very important. Sometimes, the ideas that sound the craziest at first can become the most successful. All it takes is courage, creativity, and the willingness to try something that no one else believes in.